Choosing tiles for your renovation is one of those things you desperately don't want to get wrong because it's so expensive to lay, and it's just one of those decisions that's really important for your space. We are currently going through our second renovation. I've designed lots of spaces, lots of rooms. I have a shed load of tile supplies that I've used in the past. I've got loads of samples here that I can show you. So today's video is going to be sharing some of the best tile supplies in the UK, ranging from your more affordable to your super expensive tiles. And I'm also going to share my top tips on how to choose the right tiles for your room, whether it will be your flooring or on your walls. If you're new to my channel, I'm Nicole from Sleek-chic Interiors. I share a shed ton of paint tips, interior design styling ideas, as well as snippets from our very own renovation, which we are in the process of right now. Now, let's get into the video. Before we kick the video off with my top supplies in the UK, I'm just going to share my top tips about how to choose the right tiles for your space. Now, if you are laying new tiles, it's likely that you are possibly renovating your entire room or the space that you're putting them in. Now, when you're planning a space, I think that your flooring or your walls, if you're doing wall tiles, is one of the first decisions you should make. If we're talking about flooring, it takes up such a huge expanse of your room. It's got to be right, it's got to be the right colour scheme, and it's also going to dictate what other colours you can bring into the space. The tile decision should never be left to the last minute. And also in terms of when it comes to ordering, you need to be ordering your tiles with enough time ready for them to get in for your trades to start, or you as well. And also you always need to overorder at least 10%, because there is going to be snap tiles, there's going to be tricky cuts, and you are going to need that extra amount. Now, there's nothing worse than getting to almost the end of tiling a floor or your walls and then suddenly needing to order more tiles, and then they might even be out of stock at that point. Now, one thing I will mention is certain suppliers will always be out of stock of certain products that are super popular. So if you found something 3 months ago you loved and you think I'll order it nearer the time, just don't do it, because you'll end up with disappointment if it's out of stock. And lead times can usually be anything up to 12 weeks, as a lot of tiles are normally shipped in from abroad, such as Spain, Portugal and Italy. So how do you choose the right tiles for your space? Now, I know it's easier said than done, but we all have an interior design style preference that we love, or a feeling we want to evoke in the space. Now, this one is really important. It can be really easy to design a space based on aesthetics, but if you don't have that functional aspect to it, the whole space is just not going to work for you and your lifestyle. So when I design a bathroom, for example, I think how I want to feel in that space. Now, for me, the bathroom, I really want to feel relaxed in it. I want it to be spa-like. I want it to have those hotel feelings to it. So another point I will also mention as well is if you are choosing pattern in your tiles or you're following a trend, I would be really careful, because patterns tend to age very quickly, as do trends that come and go. It's totally personal, and I love pattern. I think it creates a really fun interior design scheme. But if you're thinking about longevity with your tiles, perhaps you're wanting to sell in a couple of years, I think you should always go for a very timeless design. And that could be simple terrazzo tiles, that could be just a plain print, it could be something that's got some texture into it, such as ridges that are really popular right now. But anything with a pattern, star print, or very geometric, if you love that design and you're gonna love it in 5 years, go for it. If you're not, please stick with a timeless tile, because tiles are a very expensive purchase, especially if you've got a large square meterage. But perhaps if you are only doing a small area, such as a tiled half, then definitely go for pattern. It's a small area and it can be updated in years to come if you want to. I think it's also worth mentioning size of tiles. Now, if you are getting someone in to tile and you're paying for their labour, you kind of don't need to worry about it. But if you are tiling the property yourself, you really need to think about the size of tiles, because it's going to impact your labour and how intensive it's going to be for you. As we have found out, we tile everything ourselves. You need to think about things like sizes of tiles, because if you're laying flooring, for example, certain sizes of tiles are going to be so big, they're going to be heavy to lift if it's just one of you doing it, but also they might not be able to go through your electric cutter. Obviously you can buy lots of different sizes of those, but it may require you to buy additional tools. We loved a tile that we saw. It was actually discounted, and they were 80 by 80. They were just absolutely massive. 60 by 60 is a great size if you want to do square tiles, but then you've got the other end of the spectrum. If you're choosing really small tiles for a wall, it's going to take so much extra time, and also you do have to obviously factor in that it's going to cost you more if you are going to get something into tile your wall or your floor for you with those as well. Generally, the more intricate designs are going to cost more money to purchase and to get them laid too. And if we just come back to where I mentioned about your interior design style, you might be thinking, but I don't know what my interior design style is. Now, the best place for you to start is to seek inspiration of what you do like. I'm not just talking about Pinterest, although Pinterest is really great if you want to save some ideas to a board. I'm talking about hotels you visited. Have you got any images or colours of places you like? Have you got any magazines? Go out and get a home magazine. Just see what is out there, what you're really drawn to. And over time, you will kind of pick up a vision in your head of what you really like, what you're leaning towards, and go for that. You need to get that inspiration first to choose. And as I said, you need to choose your flooring first before you build the other colours into the space. Because if you end up picking everything else before and then your tiles, it's not going to feel intentional in the space. So always start with your flooring or your walls. They take up such a huge amount of space that they need to be considered, and you need to be happy with them. And finally, before we move on to tile suppliers in the UK, when you are getting tile samples, don't just get one. I want you to get at least 3, but probably 5, and even then you might not find the one that you love. But if you gather lots of inspiration, lots of different tiles, you'll see what kind of works for your space. You can see how it looks in the light in that space as well, and you can really get kind of a tactile feel of how it will look if it is tiled in that. So now we've covered that, and as I always say, if you've got any other questions about choosing tiles, please leave me a comment below. I come back to all of my comments with targeted advice so everyone can see what I'm sharing with the community. And now I'm going to share with you some of the best UK suppliers for tiles. And I have picked up a shed loads of tiles since we've moved. We are tiling quite a lot in this house. We've got the bathroom that we have done, we've got the kitchen downstairs, and we've got all the tiles down there as well. We've also got a half which we are going to tile in our living room as well. Now I'm kind of going to go through some budget tile brands all the way to your more expensive. One thing worth mentioning here is sometimes with cheaper items and expensive, you kind of can't tell the difference in terms of quality. One thing I will say with tiles is you definitely notice the difference between your cheaper and your higher end tiles, but also the fact that your higher end tiles have so much more better design, so much more unique. They're interior design led. You're going to see less people with them in their houses, and I think if you are spending a lot of money on tiles, I would kind of say it's got to be your forever home. But also, if you have found tiles that are really expensive and you love, don't worry, we can definitely find dupes for those, which I've done in our own renovation as well. Now let's kick it off with a couple of budget tile brands everyone's definitely heard of. We've got Tops Tiles and we've got Victorian Plumbing. Now I have had tiles from both of those as samples. We used Tops Tiles in our last house on our bathroom floor. Really loved them. The great thing about these two companies, they often run discounts. Tops Tiles have, you know, local branches, so you can actually go in and see the tiles in person. I think that's really important, and it really does help your design decisions, especially if you just don't know where to start. They've always got someone that will help, and also they've got amazing stock. So a lot of other smaller independent tile companies, they often don't hold a lot of stock, whereas Topps Tiles do, and even if they're out of stock, they've usually got really, really quick lead times. And so for that, they are really, really great. What I will say is Topps Tiles and Victorian Plumbing have kind of your entry level, pretty standard tiles on the market, and as you'll find across the internet, a lot of brands kind of share the same tiles, especially things like certain pattern tiles and your standard Subway Metro tiles, which you can pick up from like B&Q, Wix, Topps Tiles and Victorian Plumbing as well. Whilst these I would say are the most budget level, they do obviously hold more expensive tiles on a square meter basis as well. You can kind of get them for under £20 a meter square, which is kind of really, really cheap in comparison to some of the other brands I'm going to be sharing with you today. Now I'm going to be moving on to some kind of more medium, you know, affordability tile brands, and some we've actually got samples from that I've got here. Some of the other samples, they've just gone AWOL in our renovation. Find them somewhere someday. But basically, I'm going to share two companies right now. So, I fell in love with a company called Claybrook Studio, and I followed them for a number of years. Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous tiles. I'm going to link to all of these places in my captions so you can go and have a look. But they do just gorgeous tiles, and they are very, very good at advertising. Every time I'm on Pinterest, their tiles pop up. Every time I'm looking for similar tiles, theirs pop up, and they're beautiful. And for me, I found just gorgeous tiles for the bathroom. They were so expensive for what we were doing. The tiles were kind of, the ones I wanted were like £70 a meter square. And when you've got a large area to fill, the price difference between that and something slightly cheaper is really, really just too much, and it would be money that we could have put elsewhere. So yes, Claybrook Studio are beautiful. If you've got the money, please, please use them, because they've just got such a gorgeous range. Some of their stock does go out quite quickly, is one thing I will say. I wanted grey terrazzo tiles for the bathroom floor. Now this is the sample that I got from Claybrook Studio, and it's just gorgeous. It's exactly what I wanted. It's a timeless design. It goes with so much. The only time I'll say this about grey, because I hate grey carpet, but because I was doing a coastal design, it beautifully worked with whites and blue, and yeah, I loved it, but so expensive. So off I went. I actually got quite a lot of tile samples from other places, and one brand I'm going to mention is more affordable. It's Walls and Floors. Amazing. They do loads of tiles, loads of like wooden flooring as well, and obviously the wall tiles, and I found this one. And this was kind of, I can't remember how much this was, a meter square. Oh, I've got it here. Square meter was £31.95, so it's like £30 a meter square cheaper. Now that's a lot when we compare it. And if you look at the two, obviously they're different cuts of samples. This one is slightly darker, but really the terrazzo is super similar. And this one, I prefer it because the darkness was like so much more defining in our bathroom. And I'll show you that when I do my bathroom reveal. But yeah, I mean, you've kind of, this is why you have to get lots of samples, because you will fall in love with an expensive tile and you'll go, I love it, but it's just too much money. And you will find something that's similar. It's never going to be the same. But also one thing worth mentioning is a lot of these companies use the same suppliers from like Spain. We ordered a lot of tiles and they all had the same information on the boxes. So yeah, they do use the same suppliers. But Walls and Floors, yeah, amazing. Go and check them out. They've got so many good tiles on there, really affordable. And then it's Claybrook. I'll show you. These are ones I fell in love with as well. I just couldn't get. These are called Kit Kat tiles, and they are absolutely gorgeous. Very chunky in style. These are the East Haven Large Kit Kat. Love how they come on a sample card as well. But you get what you pay for, and that is why they're chunky. There's going to be lots of them, but they do come on like a backing, so you don't have to lay them each individually. But how gorgeous. is that for a bathroom like half wall tiling, which is what we would have done. Now next up we've got another sort of middle level with tiles who are brilliant, and that is Porcelain Superstore. Now we have used them for our wall tiles in our bathroom, and this is the fluted snow decor, and this was the alternative to the Kit Kat styles that you saw. And what I adored about this is, yes, they're white, but they've got this gorgeous ridge texture. So you just don't get a lot of texture in bathroom walls when you go and just look at people's bathrooms. They're mostly flat 2D. These have a 3D element to them. Gorgeous. They've got kind of, they could work in lots of different homes, and this just adds verticality as well. So we have actually tiled these vertically. Huge fan of laying vertical tiles because they draw the eye up and they make your bathroom feel a lot taller than it actually is. But obviously you can lay them like this as well. One thing I will say is they are an absolute pig to clean when they grout, because you've got all of these, whereas with a flat towel it's just super simple to grout and clean it. But yeah, this caused a lot of pain and a lot of time, but they look gorgeous now in situ. But Porcelain Superstore, known about them for quite a long time. Loads of gorgeous samples, and again, it might be the place that you might go to find a cheaper alternative, very similar to something you found elsewhere. Now another medium entry sort of that is really good. They do have 10% off on a trade discount, and I believe they also offer a discount if you're like a new subscriber. Now Your Tiles was another towel brand that I found through Instagram actually. I had another towel from Claybrook Studio, and so expensive. Found Your Tiles and it was just what I wanted. Now Your Tiles have such a fab selection of Sleek-chic tiles. Now Sleek-chic tiles are basically when they have been glazed and fired. And it comes from Morocco. They're handcrafted, and what I love about Sleek-chic is that each individual towel looks slightly different, so you've kind of got that imperfectly perfect look, and it just means that no matter where you stand in the room and look, you've got a different viewpoint and it looks completely different. And this was our tile sample from Your Tiles, and as you can see, it's got this gorgeous like semi sort of gloss to it. But when I show you our bathroom on a bathroom reveal video, you'll see that each towel looks quite different. So these are the Sleek Aqua, but some look a little bit green, and it just engages you no matter where you look. And they've got a really good selection of Sleek tiles, so if you kind of like this style, definitely check them out. They also have lots of patterned styles, and just kind of your standard metro tiles as well, if that's kind of what you're looking for. Now another couple of kind of your medium level, and we've actually gone with this company for our floor tiles in our kitchen and entryway, and that's Quorn Stone. They do a lot of indoor and outdoor floor tiles, kind of like your limestone and porcelain effect, but they do wall tiles as well. And this is one of our wall tile samples that was for the bathroom. We didn't actually go for this in the end, but as you can see, we kind of went for that Kit Kat style. These are called Nori Pearl, and they're gloss stick tile. But yeah, these really like these actually. We'll kind of try them in the kitchen downstairs and see what I think. This is the flooring we went for in the kitchen. Now this is called the Hambleton Ivory Porcelain. Now what I'm going to say is I love limestone tiles, but I don't like the price. Limestone is super expensive. It's also really chunky. Now a really great alternative is going for a porcelain or concrete style effect like this towel, and so much more affordable. It was still expensive. We got this in the 60 by 40, and I think it was around £40 a square metre for this. However, what I will say is we got quite a lot of different samples of the floor tiles because things were out of stock, and yeah, it just took ages. But some, is what I mentioned earlier, is some of your cheaper tiles can sometimes look quite cheap, which is what none of us want to achieve. Now, Stone Superstore is another brand, medium sort of level, quite affordable, comparison to some of the more expensive tile brands. This was the Hampton Ivory Porcelain, so similar like this. You've got some imperfections to this, which is what you kind of want. This was the sample we got from them, and it just looks completely flat, and it just looked completely cheap in comparison to that. It's quite subtle, but if you look at it in person, it's really quite different. This was £24.90 a square metre, so kind of almost like half price. But for me, the quality, you can just tell. So if you can really tell, I always would go for the more quality one. And as I always say, buy cheap, buy twice. But I'm going to notice the difference in that. So yeah, Stone Superstore, worth checking out. Because you might prefer it, but they've got loads of different products on there as well, kind of similar to Quorn Stone, where they've got lots of indoor, outdoor, limestone effect, porcelain, concrete style effect tiles. This is another brand that's kind of new to me. They're called the Artisan Tile Company. I sometimes look for very specific samples, and it can take me ages to find the kind of one that I really want. This was from the Artisan Tile Company. Now, I really like this because it's got kind of a pearlescent look, but as you can see, it looks different as the light touches it, which is what I want. It's a coastal inspired kitchen. I think this is the winning tile. I'm gonna check a few more, but I love it. And again, you can stack this however you like, vertically like this, and obviously you could put like one here, so you've got kind of a staggered look going across, which is what we will do. And yeah, these were, I can't remember how much this is off the top of my head. I think it was kind of around the £30 mark per square metre, but I'll pop it on the screen what it actually was. Yeah, it took me ages to find this, and I'm really happy with it. So that's a strong contender for our kitchen. Honestly, this video could go on forever, so I'm going to show you one more sample from a company I love, much more at the higher end spectrum, and then I'm going to just throw off some other names. I'm obviously going to list this in the caption below, so screenshot it and save it for later so you can come back to it. Otto Tiles. Please, let's just talk about this company. I came across this company on Instagram, and they have the most gorgeous tiles. But they're so expensive, like so expensive. A lot of their tiles are kind of over £100 a square metre. So for us right now, we definitely can't afford this in a large square metre of area. However, we can for our small tile half, where we literally need 1 metre square. And they've got an amazing selection of Sleek-chic tiles and also beige matte tiles. Beige matte tiles are natural clay tiles, and very much in right now, especially your kind of terracotta tones. Now this is the beige matte in terracotta, and this is what we are going to be using for our tile half. And just look at the chunkiness. They are so gorgeous, if that focuses. They are just super gorgeous, very expensive, but just you can tell the quality, and I absolutely love them. I definitely recommend, if you've got the spare dollar bills, go to Otto Tiles. You won't be disappointed. They've got such stunning tiles on there. Really love them. I'd do my whole house in them if I had the funds. But they are a great, if you're looking for more expensive, bit different, bit kind of interior design led tiles, check out Otto Tiles. 2 other companies I'm just going to quickly list now because this video is going to be so long, are Mandarin Stone, Bert and May. Bert and May I discovered at Decorex, which is a big interior design show last year, and they specialise in reclaimed tiles. Gorgeous, and especially if you're renovating kind of a really old property, they are a really great place to go. Quorn Stone, they don't do reclaimed, but they've got gorgeous tiles, especially if you've got kind of very traditional or stately home, really reminiscent, to pay homage to those kind of eras of property. But those are some of my favourite UK suppliers, not just your average Tops tiles and kind of wicks, but no shade on those at all, as they're great entry level, but if you are looking for something a little bit different, some of those tile suppliers I've mentioned aren't that much different in price. You've got some amazing styles on there and lots of food for thought. But I hope you found today's video really interesting and you found it useful. As I mentioned, everything will be popped in the caption below so you can screenshot it. Links to all the websites I've mentioned are there as well. But if you've got any questions, please do leave me a comment below and I'll come straight back to you. But other than that, if you enjoyed today's video, please do give it a thumbs up and I'll see you on my next video.